Good morning, everyone, and welcome to The Early Edge. My name is the Counselor of Cash, otherwise known as Sia Nejad, and this show is brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We already got the chat really going off. There's a special guest on the show. It seems like everybody is super happy about that, but let's see if we're super happy about our recap screen. I will say our MLB live stream yesterday did quite well. We were sweating that Blue Jays game for sure, but Snyper and A-Mags really came through. A lot of those strikeout props came through. We come through on the recap screen from Wednesday's show, 3-1. Calvin Wetzel, Prop Stars, A-Mags all record the win, and we lose our SportsLine pick. Good pitching performance from Logan Webb, but couldn't record the win ultimately. Very easily could have gone 4-0 here, but we will absolutely take 3-1. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Mike Tolbert days away from an NFL regular season kickoff. And I use Mike Tolbert because we've got a Chargers super fan in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, we've got Larry Hartstein. That's great. We got Ben on the ones and twos. That's great. We got Snyper. Try and diagnose what to play here on 2 or 3 games of this MLB slate. More on that in a second. We've also got Geoff Fienberg. Jeff, my friend, we've got football today. Your Chargers are playing. Hall of Fame inductions on Saturday, which I believe you're going to. You're on this show. Everything is clicking right now. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing well, thrilled to be invited and to join you guys here. That is true. I mean, football starts tonight. That feels like a blur, but I am headed to Canton, Ohio this weekend. Going to make the 4.5-hour drive to see Antonio Gates get enshrined. And you know, I went when LaDainian got enshrined a few years ago. And it was great. Just so many of the players just loitering around. It felt like an NFL Comic-Con. So I'm excited to go back.
That's really cool. I actually want to go to one of those enshrinement ceremonies as well. Larry, you got to be excited for a couple of things. One, Jeff is on the show. 2, we've got football, and I know you have a football pick for the Hall of Fame game, which I think is incredible. But again, 35 days away from an actual NFL kickoff. How excited are you?
I can't wait. And I thought Jeff would be going down tonight to see Trey Lance in action, who's going to make his case, hopefully, to be the number 2 backup quarterback. But yeah, it's great to have Jeff on. I'm a big fan of his work at Circles Off and other outlets. I love the guy.
Yeah. Trey Lance. I can't wait to hear your pick today, Larry, because I know Trey Lance is sort of going to be involved in that analysis, but that feels like a huge swing and miss, but there's still time for Trey Lance. Maybe we'll get Jeff's thoughts on him as well. Sniper, interesting MLB slate. And by interesting, I mean kind of underwhelming because we have 3 games. And honestly, I came to the show thinking, okay, we have 3 games, but we got an afternoon game that we can bet on, which will be really great. I kind of like the Rays. However, talk to me about possible rainout situations.
Yeah, I just looked right before we came on in the Bronx, and it looks like storms all day, starting at noon, going through 8, so that maybe they won't get that game in. I didn't go with any plays on that game specifically because of the weather situation. If it's delayed a few hours, then you might get different pitchers. It's difficult to know how that one's going to go. But I did want to say happy Neil Anderson days away from the NFL season. Right when I first started playing elementary football, he was my favorite player because I was a running back and I'm a Bears fan. So love you, Neil. Happy 35th day away.
Well, tomorrow, I don't know if you're on the show, Sniper, but talk about Bears running backs that you might have grown up with.
We'll get there.
Okay.
No spoilers. I'm sure nobody knows who I'll say.
Yeah, no, certainly nobody knows who you're talking about. I missed an opportunity yesterday, 36 days away. Timmy Smith, one of 2 of the 1987 Super Bowl where Washington took down the Denver Broncos. Perhaps we'll talk a little Denver Broncos later in the show when we bring up the Chargers. But let's start with some golf picks. Geoff Fienberg, you've got a 3-ball for today, and you've got to take on the Ryder Cup. Start with those 2 picks.
Okay, before I get into those picks, I'm going to give you guys a guaranteed winner, and it made me feel a little guilty as it happened. But like a lot of you, we're playing a lot of golf, and we're a bit out of shape, and the body hurts. And when you abandon your family, the wife does not want to hear you complain about your shoulder. So what I did, I was playing with my kid in the yard, and I just bailed, and I pretended that I landed on one of his toys in the yard on my shoulder. So now I can complain about my shoulder. But that's
brilliant.
It's a good move.
Trust me. Yeah, so that's the guaranteed winner. What I have next up, I believe teeing off at 12:16 today, is a round 1 3-ball. Matt McCarty is my pick. It's up against Thomas Detry and Sahith Theegala. Let's just call it out for what it is. Hope not to jinx it, but Thiegs just feels like a free square at the moment. 3 straight missed cuts. He is totally lost. His season will end this week, and he is like an athlete in any sport who's had a horrific season, who's probably just thinking about can't wait for it to get over. So I turn this into a Detry versus McCarty, 2-ball in a 3-ball, but Matt McCarty has been one of the best round 1 players all year for the last 12 months. He gains over a stroke in round 1. He has an ability to spike putt. I am not overthinking this. It's a lovely course fit. You know, some of Detry's strengths are neutralized here at the Wyndham. So it's a simple cap for me. Matt McCarty over Thomas Detry and Sahith Theegala tees off at 12-16 plus 153 ball.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit. I also think this is a much better. I think Detry is talented, but I think this is a much better course fit. And you're right about Theegala. He's going to need like an offseason to figure it out for sure. I actually have a 3-ball lean, but I have a matchup that I'm going to give out later. I have a 3-ball lean that I might mention as well. But you also, Geoff, have a take on the Ryder Cup. Now, the teams aren't fully formed yet, right? But we're trying to maybe get a line for Team Europe early.
I cannot believe that Europe plus 160 is still available. I'm sorry if that is offending our U.S. golf fan, but, you know, Europe and Luke Donald, who I overrate the captain. I put a lot in the captaincy. You know, people can underrate it, overrate it. I overrate its importance. I thought he did a masterful job last time around. When they won last time around, the first thing out of Rory's mouth was how badly they want to win at Bethpage. A lot has happened with USA Golf in the negative. The underbelly of this team is not nearly as strong as anyone anticipated. There's going to be some rookies. I believe Keegan Bradley being a player captain is a huge disadvantage. The captaincy is an omnipresent position. It's a fine line they think they're walking. Sure, if Keegan's dropping birdies, the crowd's going to be going nuts. But what happens when Keegan loses, 5-4 to Ludwig and Victor? Getting the captain's head on parading it around after a big victory, it's going to be a fine line, and I cannot believe Europe plus 160, when you stare down these rosters, is still available.
Yeah, real quick thought on that in terms of Captain Keegan, because actually my pick pertains to him later for the Wyndham, of course. What's the percentage chance you think he's going to be on the Ryder Cup team?
100.
Okay. That answers that.
I think it is more likely he steps aside as captain than he does as playing, because playing is his ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's not 12 better USA players than Keegan Bradley. I don't know a world in which he wouldn't be on this team.
Yeah, that's true. He could certainly maybe put a stamp on it to some degree at the Wyndham Championship. We'll see how that goes. All right, Geoff, more from you. That's 2 picks from Geoff Fienberg. We got more NFL chat with Geoff Fienberg later in the show, but let's transition, Sniper. We want to get to some MLB home run props, which we're going to do after your picks, but we also want to get to, again, only 2 or 3 games today. Fortunately, you have picks in a game that's likely not to be rained out.
Yeah, this goes back to Monday this week when I talked about the Braves, and I said, I know that it's hard for people a lot of times to wrap their heads around something like this, because even when the Braves started 0-8, we thought, hey, they're going to be a good team. They're going to get right eventually. They're going to get Acuna back. They're going to get Strider back. We just need to recognize the Braves are a bad team. They're 45-62. They're 19-36 on the road. They're 7-17 in July. They're 3-9 since the All-Star break. Need we go on? The Braves are a bad team. And now Ronald Acuna Jr. is hurt with that Achilles injury. Well, now they say calf. The Achilles and the calf are attached. So I guess it's right around the attachment point. But the point remains, the Braves are a bad team, and they're facing the Reds and Andrew Abbott in Great American Ballpark. Abbott has a 1.93 home ERA. He's been dominant all year, no matter where he's been, including in Atlanta. Last time he faced the Braves, 5 scoreless innings with 8 strikeouts. Again, no Acuna for the Braves, who's been the only really reliable offensive player. Even Matt Olson hasn't been. Even Austin Riley hasn't been. So I'm going to take the Reds on the run line here. Another thing that's good for the Reds is Carlos Carrasco taking the ball for the Braves. He was on the Yankees, and the Yankees desperately need starting pitching, and they still got rid of him. That's how bad Carlos Carrasco's been this season. So I'm going to turn to the Reds and grab a player prop. I would look at TJ Friedel. He's been on paternity leave for 2 days. You don't know if he's going to come back today or not. There's never reporting around that because the player just comes back when he's ready. If Friedel does come back, you might look at him. But I'm going to go to Elly De La Cruz. If I think the Reds are going to feast offensively, we've got over 1.5 total bases, right around even money for Elly De La Cruz. He's a switch hitter, so he's kind of matchup proof here, but he's been so much better against right-handed pitching this season, hitting from the lefty side. Carrasco is a righty, so I love Elly De La Cruz here. I love the Reds here. It's going to be a big night in Cincy.
Okay, big night in Cincy and a big night potentially at BetMGM. BetMGM has 2 specials for today. BetMGM account holders will receive a no-sweat token to apply to any bet on any sport. If your bet loses, you get a bonus bet back. And also, this one I think applies exclusively to the Wyndham Championship. BetMGM account holders will also get a second chance for your tournament winner pick. Pick the golfer you think will win the Wyndham Championship. And if he finishes in second, you get your stake back in cash. It kind of reminds me, Larry, of one of those first touchdown bets, which we are dangerously close away from making a lot of those. And Geoff, it reminds me also, back in the day when we were first doing this show, I can't tell you how many times Donald Parham for then the Los Angeles Chargers was a first touchdown bet for me. Your response, Geoff?
Yeah, I rode a lot of those. Just that big target at the back of the end zone. I fondly, although disappointing often.
But he did cash for me at least one time. I will say this: there's nothing better than, forget about cashing the first touchdown bet on the backup tight end, or let's say the second tight end who's often in with the primary tight end, like in goal to go situations. There's nothing better than just merely making the selection of the backup tight end, because you see the odds, they're like 25-1 or 20-1 or 22-1, and you're like, I'm going to be super clever here. Nobody's going to be guarding this guy in the back of the end zone. Larry, I know we're going to be doing some primetime shows soon. Just your thoughts on just the betting options and just the fervor that is going to come with these NFL shows.
It's a great time to be alive, Sia. I mean, I'm serious. This is, to me, my favorite part of the year because it's all in front of me. I mean, I go into a deep depression in January and February when I'm staring at 6 months, without NFL football. So to me, I can't even describe it.
Yeah, I mean, when people talk about seasonal affective mood disorder, I'm pretty sure they're referring to NFL season. Danny Brasco in the chat, along with Amags, so many others. He says Gerald Everett was a bag. I mean, that's also not true. These tight ends absolutely love the odds on them. All right, we got to get to home run props. We got to get to my PGA matchup. We got a lot more NFL to talk about. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
We are back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Before we go to the home run props, I do want to remind everybody, I dropped the link in the chat. But maybe, Ben, if you could drop it one more time, podcastawards.com. It's the last day to vote for Early Edge. There's a lot of other podcasts you can vote for, but the good news is if you just don't have the time to and you want to spend just 40 to 50 seconds, all you got to do is go to podcastawards.com. You click the blue button, sign up to vote now, and you vote for the Early Edge for best male-hosted podcast. There's other podcasts to vote for, including Fantasy Football Today and Cover 3. You can do that, too, in the best sports category. Ours is in the best male-hosted podcast category. Again, People's Choice Podcast Awards. Help out the Early Edge, advance us to the next round, which I believe is the final round. Again, podcastawards.com. It takes 45 to 60 seconds tops. And Ben has already put the podcastawards.com link in the chat. It'll be in the YouTube and podcast description as well. Let's take a look at MLB home run props before we get to anything else. So, Matt, I'm going to keep this on you. Again, not a ton to choose from today, right? We got Junior Caminero, who was cashed for us recently, plus 330. Says the Inside the Lines crew in SportsLine, but the real odds are plus 500. Brandon Lau plus 380 versus plus 450. And Corey Seager plus 366 versus plus 400. Sniper, your reaction?
Yeah, if they do play, I absolutely love both Caminero and Lau in Yankee Stadium against Marcus Stroman. That's a really, really good spot. I was actually going to, I swear, the neighbor's lawnmower only comes during this show. And I don't know if anybody else can hear it.
I can barely hear it.
Okay. And then Seager, I looked at that. The only reason it's tough for me is T-Mobile Park. I know you can still hit home runs there. Obviously, Cal Raleigh hits plenty of home runs there, but it's the toughest park for hitters in all of Major League Baseball. So that's the only reason I would avoid that. But it is Corey Seager, and he can be park proof. So I like all three of these, but more so on the first two, assuming that they actually play that game.
I'll say this. We hit Julio Rodriguez, or I should say that the crew hit Julio Rodriguez on this chart yesterday, and Mutanda's in the chat is saying, like this home run plays thing has been absolutely red hot. Mackenzie comes on here every week, tells you how many units we're up. You can see it on SportsLine, on the app, and at sportsline.com as well. It is just, and I'm assuming the Inside the Lines crew has their charting up as well, but we've been red hot. So maybe one of these three will come in just like J-Rod came in yesterday. I want to see Sniper yell at his neighbor on the show, says Joe. Sniper, you up for it?
It's not him, it's his mowers, and it's just bad timing. I'm not going to go say, hey, you guys need to check whenever I'm on early edge and go around that. It's just a weird annoyance.
Well, they should be watching the early edge. It's disrespectful not to be watching and mowing the lawn.
Yeah, and what Jason just said, old man Snyder shaking his fist. Yeah, I don't want to be the old man yells at clouds thing over lawn mowing. So I think we need to avoid that.
All right, let's go to an 18-hole matchup that I like. This one you can find over at DK. I'm going to give you a 3-ball lean that I like as well. But my official play, obviously, we're looking at the 3-ball yesterday. Paul Peterson is out on the course. We have him at, I think, plus 180 in his 3-ball. But we're going to go with Keegan Bradley in an 18-hole matchup, minus 120 over Robert McIntyre. To me, this just profiles is I like Keegan at this course a lot better. Both of them coming in with pretty great form. Both of them have splashed and won tournaments quite recently. But at the end of the day, I prefer Keegan Bradley's accuracy. I prefer his mid-iron play in particular, and his weighted tee to green numbers a little bit better, the recent form versus Robert McIntyre. So I'm going to take Keegan Bradley minus 120 over Bobby Mack. Again, I think both of these guys are good. I think Keegan is the slightly better course fit. We talked about that a lot on the live chat yesterday and on the DFS and Best Bets show on the early wedge. The 3-ball lean that will be available anywhere at around, I think it's plus 130 to plus 125. It's Tristan Lawrence against Cristobal del Solar, and I'm trying to remember who the third guy in that 3-ball is. Again, it's not an official play, but I do like Tristan Lawrence in that matchup marginally. I just wish I had a better price than the plus 130. I feel like that should probably be closer to plus 140, maybe even plus 150. But in that 3-ball, I'm forgetting the third guy, but I do like Tristan Lawrence profile versus the other two who are very, very erratic off the tee. I'll remember that third name in just a second. But again, that's just a 3-ball lean. We've got Keegan Bradley over Robert McIntyre as my official play. Larry, you have an official play, and it's not on baseball. It's not on golf. It's not on an NFL regular season game or a week 1, if you will, NFL preseason game. It's on a week 0 Hall of Fame game. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear this. Talk to me about Geoff Fienberg's Chargers.
Yeah, well, we got 3 MLB games today. We got 1 NFL game, which we haven't had in forever. I know people are betting it. I want to bet it. I wanted to get in somehow. And I do like this play. Chargers plus a half in the first quarter. Coming back at minus 148 on DK. If you can't find that, I'm okay with Chargers first quarter money line at minus 104, that area. But obviously 3-3, 7-7, 0-0, we would still cash this bet. You know, the last time we saw Trey Lance in the preseason, it wasn't pretty. 5 interceptions, as everyone probably remembers with the Dallas Cowboys. But this is his last shot, 25 years old. He gets to work with Greg Roman, which I think is a big deal because we've seen what Greg Roman can do with mobile quarterbacks. But he also gets to work with the Chargers' top rookies. They are in the game. The Lions are not playing their top rookies. That means Mario Hampton will be carrying the ball, I hope, 6 to 8 times in that first quarter. That's the All-American from North Carolina. Trey Harris, the wideout from Ole Miss, will be out there. Kyle Kennard, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, will be out there. And who will be his center? His center will be Zion Johnson. This is a guy who had not played center, but in training camp, they are working him at center. First-round pick from 4 years ago. He has been obviously played a lot of football, so I like that will be his center. It's going to be him versus Hendon Hooker probably to start, and then in the second half, it'll be DJU against Kyle Allen. That's why I want to isolate the first quarter. I just think the approach of the Chargers playing their top rookies, the Lions not playing their rookies, their top rookies, is going to give us a good chance to cash this bet.
All right, we're taking the run line, if you will, the plus a half first quarter. It's our first NFL bet of the season, except for the fact that we've given out like 30 futures. Speaking of futures, So, Geoff, there's a couple futures that you liked coming into the show. I do want your reaction, if you have one, to this Hall of Fame game bet from Larry Hartstein. But he did mention Omari and Hampton. Now, his line, his rushing yards prop, his future prop, has really kind of escalated. Can you talk to me about where you got the bet and maybe where it is now?
Oh, I'll just say, like, just hearing Larry talk ball, doing a little Chargers radio for a moment, the blood was flowing, the excitement. You feel alive again. So that's just a great sign. It's a test. And then when you suffer a bad beat, you'll know you feel alive also. I'm quite high on Omari and Hampton, and for a while, his preseason numbers or his regular season rushing prop numbers stayed stagnant, even through the initial reports of the Najee Harris fireworks incident that I don't believe is going to put the start of the season in doubt, but at the time, there were some questions. He has caught a lot of movement, guys. The numbers are moving. Just a few days ago, there was under 800 yards for -110. Now that's up to 850 for the 1,000-yard alt play. It was +250. Now that I'm seeing down to +210, and it makes total sense. I mean, a Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman-led offensive-minded team who just signed Mekhi Becton, drafted a first-round running back. And when I watch Omari and Hampton tape, I don't even watch the rushing. It is the pass blocking that I cannot believe this is real. I hope it's real, but his ability to play all three downs is what will keep him on the field. Of course, it's Roman and Harbaugh and Najee or whoever else is there will get their drives, will get their opportunities. I don't even know how the touchdowns will break out. That's why maybe for fantasy or other aspects, I'm not sure, but he will be a workhorse who gets the yards. Greg Roman, to have a top 10 running back in the league, it's almost like it's happened in, I want to say, 85% of his seasons as an OC. So I'm quite confident Omarion will get the snaps, and his ability to pass protect will keep him on the field, full stop.
Fair enough. All right. Can I ask you, how much, obviously you're afraid of Kansas City from a division standpoint. They're the rightful favorite every single year. How much do Chargers fans fear Denver, or do they think just Denver's just one of those hype teams that probably is going to finish third in the division?
I am scared, very
Good.
scared. I think whoever can win that battle could maybe be in a nice place to take on the Chiefs. The Chargers start their season with 3 straight division games. So we'll kind of know right away, friends. But that Denver defense, it is unrelenting, and it will keep them in ball games. And, it's easy to see how they could suffocate this current version of a Chargers offense. My only hope is, Bo Nixon with his age is what we saw last year could be closer to the ceiling than multi-year development and progress. But that could just be wishful thinking. Huge Sean Payton fan. Vance Joseph did not get any looks as a head coach, so he's still back there running that defense where Sean can just fully trust it to Vance, and he doesn't have to worry or think about it. So Sean Payton can just play with that whiteboard all day long, and it scares me.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Denver's going to be really good, but I think the Chargers are going to be good too. That AFC West is going to be really interesting. Let's go to the NFC South though. So we're going to go around. Here's what we're going to do, Geoff. We're going to get a bet you like in the NFC South, and then Larry, we're going to get your reaction to anything Geoff said NFL related. Then Sniper, we're going to close the show before we get to the recap screen with any MLB questions that are in the chat. But Geoff Fienberg, you like the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, so I am full stop on a Falcons win total over play. Last year, the Falcons were projected to face one of the easiest schedules in the league. What happened? They ended up facing a schedule that fully exceeded expectations. 20 wins above expectations, the most in the league. This year, another easy schedule. I don't believe that's going to happen again, or let's assume it doesn't. But everything that could have went wrong for the Falcons offensively somehow did. The amount of second half turnovers that this team made, Kirk Cousins threw 7 of them in close games. That Charger game, it was like watching Chris Paul throw bounce passes. So it was an objective disaster, just from like something little like field goals. Falcons opponents made 31 of 32 field goals, the highest rate in the league. 11 of 11 from over 50 yards. The Falcons made 6 of 11 from over 50 yards. The pendulum is going to swing there. They play 12 indoor games on the schedule. The amount of like EPA yards per play they had, their ability to move the ball and not score points was drastic last year. They led the league in like the fewest 3 and outs. This is an offense that will stay on the field. Luck doesn't have to turn much. Like, there's not a lot that has to change for this team to win games. I actually really do trust Raheem Morris, despite a lot of, hate. They did invest in the defensive line in the draft. I don't care that they gave away next year's first rounder for my bet. That's not my problem. That's Falcons fans' problem if they end up being bad. But they, 2 pass rushers in that draft, so they're after it this year. I'm really high on the Falcons bounce back. Michael Penix, big playability.
Jason Pogba says the NFC South is going to be won by Atlanta. And then we have Joe Neuenfeld saying Falcons should have beat the Commanders and kept them out of the playoffs. That's true. Like, they played, Michael Penix was great in that game, and I thought the Falcons very easily could have beat the Commanders there. And I think that Michael Penix pick is looking pretty good, everybody that was making fun of that. I was not one of them. You want to ensure your quarterback position. It's the most important position in all of sports. It absolutely made sense to me to jump on Michael Penix as quarterbacks were running out quickly in that draft. Larry, your reaction, and then we'll get to some MLB questions.
Well, my first point about the Falcons is, why couldn't Netflix get somebody other than Kirk Cousins for this second season of quarterback? We saw him the first time. There's so many great guys. Why would nobody else do it? So that's just probably unrelated. But Kirk Cousins threw 7 interceptions in the second half of close games. 4 of those in the last 2 minutes, according to Cleve TA, one of the best analytics guys out there. So Jeff's right. This offense was actually very good, but they were done in by terrible mistakes. And they did address the pass rush with Jalen Walker, Michael Pierce, Leonard Floyd. That was the biggest issue. So we have a futures draft going on for real money among SportsLine, and my first pick was Falcons over 7.5 for 3 units. That is our biggest play. So I'm right there with Jeff. I think Tampa wins the division, but I think 8, 9, 10 wins is even possible.
Yeah, mine, FYI, was the Broncos over 9.5 wins at -105. And then my next draft pick was the Titans. That line had moved up from 5.5 to 6.5. So I took the under on the Titans, 6.5 at -145. That draft is ongoing. It will be published by RJ White. There's a lot of familiar names in that SportsLine futures draft, which we're like literally just in the middle of right now. Okay, MLB, Sniper, we got to circle back. I know it's a shorter slate. Were there any questions? You're on mute because of the lawnmower. See, it's the lawnmower guy. You have to yell at him.
See, I usually leave it on so I don't forget that. Sorry. A couple comments on Eugenio Suarez in there. If he does play, I love any Suarez props. Reinvigorated going to a new team. He's already familiar with Seattle because he played there several years. Kamar Rocker on the mound for the Rangers is not in a good place right now. So I think Suarez could knock him around the yard. My only concern is, sometimes when guys are traded, this didn't get announced until like 1 a.m, 2 a.m. Eastern time. If he makes it on time for the game, but doesn't start, and then he only pinch hits late in the game, and he only gets 1 at bat, then you only have 1 chance to hit like over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, or over 1.5 total bases. That's tougher. If he is in the starting lineup, I absolutely love it. And of course, if he doesn't play, then you don't have to worry because then your ticket doesn't count. But my only concern is if he doesn't start and then he just pinch hits.
Fair enough. Okay. Larry, I don't know if you have any closing thoughts here. Jeff Stenberg says, Sniper, do you like Carrasco 5Ks plus 155?
Yeah, I saw him, Jeff, with the famous fade of the Yankees, even though the Yankees aren't involved in this game because Carrasco used to play for them. No, I don't. I think the Reds are going to knock Carrasco all over the yard. No, I do not like the over 5 strikeouts on that.
Wow, that fade, that fade doesn't, it lasts.
It doesn't stop. It's just the Yankees. It just resonates. There's a ripple effect. Even when you leave the Yankees, then all of a sudden now you're better, and now you're fading the Yankees by betting on the guy when he leaves the Yankees.
So I think that'll do it, gentlemen. Jeff, I do want to ask if you have any parting words, whether they be golf or NFL related, but also where can we find your stuff? Where can we see you next?
You find most of my work over at Mayo Media. As Larry mentioned, I also do some fun sports gambling related drama content over at Circles Back, because it's like a Guardians of the Galaxy, seeing all these planets of sports gamblers on the internet. So always lots to discuss there. Just like you said, Mike Tolbert days. See, that hit hard. That hit hard. Like, we're here. Let's go. It's August tomorrow. Fantasy draft season. Like,
yeah.
I'm booked up. Like, it's time.
There's so much going on, so much content, I'm sure, coming from Geoff and Mayo Media Net and just obviously the Early Edge and SportsLine. There's so much that we're ramping up for. So everybody, make sure you're subscribed to the SportsLine YouTube channel. Almost everybody watching is, but sometimes you think you're subscribed to a YouTube channel and you're really not. So make sure you click subscribe. Don't forget to vote for Early Edge for podcastawards.com. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we get everybody out of here. I've got Keegan Bradley this afternoon. It starts in a couple of hours. -120 over Robert McIntyre in an 18-hole matchup. We've got the Reds run line at +130 from the Sniper, and Ellie De La Cruz over 1.5 total bases at -105. And then we got a 3-ball play from Geoff Fienberg. Matt McCarty +150 over Dietrich and Thigala. Ryder Cup, he likes Europe +160. And then we're going with a Falcons win total ladder over 8.5 +125, over 9.5 +220, over 10.5 +400. Some great Falcons analysis there. Chargers +0.5 first quarter, -148 from Larry Hartstein. That is a game tonight that you can watch where people will be wearing pads and helmets and actually playing football, or something very, very close to football. That's the Chargers first quarter +0.5. SportsLine model top MLB home run plays. Junior Caminero, Brandon Lau, and Corey Seager are the SportsLine and Inside the Lines home run plays. I think we hit a home run with Geoff Fienberg. And this show, we do it every single Monday through Friday at 10 in the morning. A big thank you to Geoff Fienberg, Larry Hartstein, Matt Snyder, and of course, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. A big thank you to everybody in the chat. We'll see you for BPE Friday tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Thanks for joining the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we rest our case.